Dash, you've plasmaed your last pistol. Fresh and buds now.
Fresh and
All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. It is episode 204, and we are joined once again by Sam O'Byrne. It's been a minute, but I'm happy to have you back. What is going on, my friend? I missed you. Your smiling face on my screen. It is just wonderful. How you doing?
Dude, good. Great to be back. 204, pretty insane. Big 200.
Yes.
Look at you go, man. That's pretty impressive. One of the OGs of the Fab space. So happy to see you still rocking and rolling.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to keep going until they tell me to stop, I think. Or my computer breaks.
Who do you think, who's the they? Just like the police? Like, hey, I heard there's one Tommy Fresh. He has got to stop.
He's got to stop. How dare
Has
you
to stop.
Get on a mic and talk about your hobby and your interest. Illegal. But it's happy. It's happy times over here. 204 is a lot of fun. But what's even happier is getting to talk to you, my friend. You've had a lot going on. We just got some news about the new set. I want to talk a little bit about that in a bit, but I want to talk more about you first. Since we last talked, it's just been a while. I mean, we've talked since then, but like official, not this is an official talk, but like in the sphere of the internet, you got a new gig. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, happy to. Started at LSS in January, and it was pretty unexpected, but it has been really fun. It has been a total dream come true. Not a dream that I didn't even really know I had, but it's just all like this whole journey for me in Flesh and Blood has just been like fun, and I've just continued to be following the fun, and like casting was fun, and then casting the bigger events was fun, and then when they reached out and were like, hey, are you interested in doing this? I was like, I mean, it sounds fun. So I've just been kind of like, I got into this, I just liked the game so much. It just became my favorite hobby. I started, the YouTube channel. I'm here in the 3 floating studio in my apartment. And it's just like been fun for me. So I feel very, very lucky to be working in the company. They're all such great people. And, my day job every day is to just try to keep making it cooler for all of the fans to watch the streams and just engage with the game on multiple axes. It's just like, how can I make this more fun for more people? It's a pretty cool gig.
No, it's awesome. And I'm happy that, it seems like they got their ear to the ground on good people and bringing them on. And, seeing that happen to you, I was like, obviously, Sam's a no-brainer right there. You just get him in there. So some questions about the gig. Like, what's like your day-to-day? Like, obviously, we see you kind of at the events and doing coverage and kind of producing. What's the day-to-day kind of leading up to that? And, is there kind of like planning involved that you need to do? Give us a little peek behind the window if you don't mind.
Yeah, no planning. We just kind of show up and like, what do you guys want to do for this one? Is Flesh and Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's honestly, some things are like in the process of kind of shifting around because we are lucky enough to have Ethan and Savage Feeds and Nathan joined just literally last week full time, which is monumental for coverage present and future. So we're in the process of figuring out what the new day-to-day looks like now that we have, 2 people who are, and Ethan really as like the full-time guy. Nathan's, not full-time. He still has his other job as well. But, we have another person that is so stupidly talented and driven, also focusing on streaming. So we get to work together on, as we already have, but now just with less stuff in our way of communicating with the rest of the team. So that's going to make it even easier. But in terms of the day-to-day, it is just mostly planning. It's planning and ideating. Mm-hmm. It's every day looking ahead at the slate. What do I need to do when? Booking the casters, picking the talent, watching the VODs, and then just planning out the streams, coordinating on what assets need to be made, when they're going to be placed, ideating and talking it through with other members of my team, with Ethan in both roles, coordinating with the judges and the people on the ground and the people who run the tournaments and organized play to make sure that all of the infrastructure is in place. And if we need food or water or we need a monitor and the keynote needs to be prepared for, just like a bunch of admin to get these streams rolling. Part of what's included in that is just watching the streams, watching other streams when they come across, and I come across them and just being like, what are cool ideas that other people are doing? What are ways that we can just make it better and ideate and like make it. Literally, my number one thing is like, what's coolest? Like, what's most fun when you're watching? Like, I just watched these streams for years, like I just was watching the Flesh and Blood streams when I was getting into the game. I watched so many hours of Fab streams. So I'm just like, what would be fucking fun? Yeah. Like, what would be cool? Like that, let's do it.
I mean, listen, I think that is a great way to approach it. I think making what's cool is cool. But, that is awesome to hear that you guys are continuing to look at, at different ideas and how things can improve or change, and when Brian was on a couple weeks ago, I think we talked a little bit about how far coverage has come, right? Just like even in only like 4 or 5 years, like obviously the game's been around for 5 years, but like coverage really started kind of in that 2021, calling circuit. And what we had then to what we have now is astronomical, right? It's incredible, and it's awesome to see as somebody that's been involved with the game, as like a fan for so long. I love to see that. So in terms of the future, though, it's a clear thing that you guys aren't going to just, well, it's good enough, let's just leave it. No, you're going to continue to improve upon it. Is there anything that you are looking to try or implement that kind of seems cool, but you want to like kind of test it out? Do you have any big future plans that you'd like to get going?
Yeah, man, I for sure I do. And again, having Ethan and Savage Feats in-house means investment in the streams is investment in our people, our technology, not necessarily a third-party company and people that could then do another game. You know what I mean? Like, we're investing in like flesh and blood coverage now when we invest in the people who have elevated it. Let's be very clear. The main elevation, the lion's share of elevation of flesh and blood coverage has come from Ethan and Savage Feats. It's like, yeah, 100%. So like now that they're in, so much more investment can happen so much easier, and it's a lot easier to be like, hey, we want to try this and we want to invest in our tech in this way. So we're able to have just very different conversations this week than we were even 2 weeks ago, which is very exciting. But in terms, one of the things that I definitely take from my colleagues and from the kind of top down at LSS is there's this sense of they want to be around in 20 years. They want to be, they're building something to last. And so they do things slowly and steadily and with research and intentionality behind most actions. They don't, even if it would make a lot of money or, ease a lot of potential wallets with like a really crazy immediate 5 reprints, they take their time and they make sure they're not going to alienate people or, whatever it may be, depending on the decision. In terms of what I want to do, it's just, kind of like a slow expansion of what's possible with the scope. I would say we are getting close to what is possible with the size of team we have on the ground at these events. When you look at some of these other games that have been around for longer, have more resources behind them, they have massive teams on the ground. Oh my God, Magic has a whole truck, like a literal like truck. Yeah, which is awesome. It's a super cool show. And I would put our coverage up against any coverage in the game, in terms of just especially the quality of like when you are watching the game of Flesh and Blood, what has been done, what Ethan has created is a beauty to watch. And so I'm really proud of where we are. And I think as we continue to expand and maybe can bring a couple more boots on the ground the actual venue, you can start to expand even more, and you can start to bring in more setups, more bespoke, interview areas, more chances to check in on the floor and, with what else is going on in the tournament. I think some of that has been somewhat outside of my control, but I think you'll see in Singapore, we'll start to see even more of that type of content as we brought in some more boots on the ground. And then at Worlds, there's something that I really do want to try, expanding the amount of casters, amount of broadcast talent we have on the ground can lead to some cooler opportunities with segments, with differentiating who brings you out of the break and into the break and who is actually casting the game, really sending it to the casting desk versus the casting desk and the high welcome back desk being the same thing. Is something that I want to try, and I think we're aiming to try at Worlds. It's not set in stone, but it is something we want to try. And then, I think continuing to hone in on teams. I really like to. I'm starting to want to develop, like, you should know who the Pro Tour team is. When you see the set of casters pop up, you're like, oh hell yeah, like those are the dogs, like those are the people I love to watch, and you love to watch all the casters. Hopefully, we try to pick them. We try to pick great people, but people who have done all the world premieres this year and finding a through line of they bring that energy. Someone like Scott Mines has been so incredible in the world premiere streams. He is just a rock star, one of my favorite casters to watch. And so I want him to, this year at least, it's really cool. Like, turn on a world premiere stream, you can see Scott's, incredible energy every time. He'll be back in Montreal, right? And so, just establishing those kind of rhythms, patterns, and then, I think a slow expansion of maybe, hopefully, who we have on the ground at the venue.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty great. Like, in terms of, like, the extra segments, like, that is definitely something that would be really cool to see on these streams. And just, obviously, you're only limited to how much you can do, and breaks are only so long sometimes. You can't really tell some matches if you're going to have a full 55 minutes of gameplay or it's a quick match, So I think that would be really cool, and I'm excited to see what you have coming down the pipes. Now, you clearly have to know a little bit about the game, which I know you do, when kind of going into these big events and kind of planning out, what kind of matchups are going to be interesting, which players are going to be interesting to watch and see on coverage. So we have Pro Tour coming up, Pro Tour Singapore, which is very exciting. The meta seems to be pretty set. We just lost Dash, apparently, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Azalea just escaped LL by like
she's going to make it, I think. Make it. I think there's some battle hardens though this weekend.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure there is a weekend's chance of at least a battle hardened or two.
Okay.
We'll
see. So she's got another shot, but assuming she doesn't win them, she's not the biggest player in the meta right now, but she does gatekeep some decks, so it'll be interesting. What are you expecting out of Pro Tour Singapore coming up? Because this has been, I think, a very diverse meta as far as I can tell in this nationals, thing that we got going. There's a clear favorite here. I don't know if there's a clear best hero. So, what are you expecting?
I was literally on my on a drive this morning listening to DM Armada talk about the best meta ever, and we've had the best meta ever a number of times. We've had the best draft set ever a number of times in Flesh and Blood. But I do think we are in a pretty damn good, fun, interesting open meta. There's a lot of viable heroes, a lot of decks that you can target, and some clear front runners. I'd be remiss, I feel like, if I didn't mention that Prism was already 3 of the 8 top decks in London, and with some challenging matchups in and amongst those heroes that have now left, in Aurora, even like Enigma, right? That was a weird matchup. News gone as well, which is a weird one for Prism, and weird on both sides. But I think so. I feel like you could totally see some Prism do really well. Prism was nearly in the finals of Hong Kong. I was watching that stream on the Card Guys over the weekend. But it does kind of feel like anybody's game. I mean, Ira's cards are going to come out before Singapore, right? So you're going to be able to see maybe a little resurgence of some more, ninjas, especially if Gravy Bones continues to be such a fan favorite. Like, I think part of the thing with Gravy Bones, this is what I'm dealing with, is he's so fun to play. Deck is so sweet. It's just freaking cool, man. So like, if when I think about going to my armory, I'm like, dude, everybody's so ready for Gravy Bones right now. But that doesn't stop me from wanting to just play the deck. It's just really fun, and so I do think you're seeing some of that in the deck that people are bringing. It's just really cool and fun to sequence and play all the allies. So yeah, I don't know. It does feel like it's kind of anybody's game, but I think the Ira cards coming in will absolutely have an impact, and I think you got to watch out for Prism. She has been on the rise.
Yeah, it's almost like these illusionists are pretty good or something. I can't.
Yeah,
can't
no,
put my
they're
finger on it.
they seem I've heard of this before. This class, this
Yeah.
illusionist class.
Oh man, it should be interesting. Gravy Bones, like you said, I truly personally don't believe he's the best deck, but like certainly has the popularity behind him, right? A lot of people want to play him, like you just said. So we're gonna see a decent amount of Gravy. Prism would be kind of interesting, and then Ninja kind of coming in, having that really good Gravy matchup.
And Warrior, dude. Warrior has been looking also so strong.
Yeah.
Like Kasai taking down in Australia, and just like there was that great Dory game on one of the streams as well. Like it's just been like Warrior just looks good. Kasai, Fang, like these decks can do a lot right now. So
yeah, I mean, if Azalea goes, I would love to see Fang kind of go the distance. I think Azalea's a problem for him, but we will see. Now, what are some matchups you'd love to get on camera specifically? Like you get to Singapore, you take a look at the list, you're like, they're playing.
Yeah,
that would be fun to see.
Dude, I mean, I don't know if people will do it, but watching the Tekla Foundry's deck tech on Vengeance Katsu made me believe. It made me believe. Because you think about repeatable breaking scales throughout the game that you can do 3 times, maybe, but even just the threat of it on board, you have to think about breaking scales once in Katsu, but now you have to think about, Okana Scar Wraps through the whole game. And if you're like, that is pretty awesome in Katsu to be consistently threatening the on hits of these attacks. And so like if I hear that Edge of Autumn Katsu is doing well, it will be hard for me not to throw that up, I think that's just cool. And then another deck that just won in, oh goodness, Denmark, I want to say. Dash.io, I believe Ian Zhang won.
Okay.
I think Denmark. But like Dash.io is doing well. It's always hard. At these pro tours, it's a lot of people focus on the heroes people are playing, but pro tours and worlds, they really are not about who has the best meta call deck in the room. It's just about who's the best player because of the mixed format, of it all. Like you have to just dominate both of these formats, and it really is about player skill more than it's about did you bring the perfect meta call deck. That's more of a calling, when you're just playing CC for those 15 rounds. So I'm really focused on who's playing who and getting great players to face off. But in those early rounds, like anybody interesting. Acilio, I love watching Acilio blast off. Someone brings Rhinar, like of course if Eugene is winning, like come on, man.
Yeah,
you do want to get some of those fan favorites on.
You gotta get those lurkers in there, at the bottom of the Living Legends list. You just gotta get them in and see what happens. Give people hope. It's like
totally.
A Man of Steel. I think what's the S stand for? It stands for hope. What's the LSS stand for? It stands for L hope. Anyway, it's exciting. I'm excited to watch the coverage and see what's going on. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited because also they're going to be drafting. I think my favorite set to draft so far. Until the next one. Although Super Slam seems pretty sweet too, but we don't know a lot about it yet. But speaking of high seas and it being awesome, I gotta get your fresh faves for high seas.
Okay,
Sam, who's your favorite hero from the high seas?
Is this high seas? Great. I mean, it is It is Gravy Bones. It is Gravy Bones. It's so fun to play. I love all the different decision points. I love how hard it is when you win. Sometimes you just roll people over, but like often you can steal games, you can come back. I loved how often you had to make decisions in Icelander, and this is scratching a similar itch for sure.
It's a great answer.
But the honorable mention for me is this is the first mechanologist that I've really that looks interesting to me. It's the way Aiden has built Puffin, it looks super fun and cool. And I've just never been a mech player, and this one I'm like, I can mess around with that.
Yeah, it's nice to not be kind of forced into boosting so much. I mean, obviously you can, but like just the tinkering kind of seems really cool with Puffin. Yeah. But Gravy's really cool and a fan favorite for a reason. Now, what's your favorite weapon out of High Seas?
My favorite weapon, I think Hammerhead. I love the idea of a bow that you can't load with, but still gives you a really cool effect. It's just a super unique play pattern in Ranger of all classes, and it kind of feels like Vinset, where it's Shadow Runeblade, but it's not at all what Chain was, and this is Ranger, but not at all like. I mean, Azalea makes big arrows that are evasive, but they're super red line. You barely pitch, and this is super different. You really pump up a big friggin' like cannon shot and blast them away. So I just think it's cool, different design.
Yeah. You better be liking blues for Marlin. You're gonna need them. So
yeah.
What's your favorite equipment from High Seas?
My favorite equipment from High Seas, probably Dead Threads. It's just so sweet, the amount of play lines that it enables in the deck when you're just like doing all your things. Like, oh, I think I'll just get another resource on this turn too. Why not? Seems nice. Again, I know it's not the sexy answer. I mean, I guess it is kind of the sexy answer, but it's not the sexy answer when it comes to cards that aren't as played or as popular. But it's just fun.
Hey, listen, since we started doing the High Seas fresh faves, you know what the most common answer has been? Not Death Threads. It's the Unicycle.
Yeah, that card is sweet. That card is sweet, dude. It's gnarly with the aeronaut, with Palantir. It's disgusting.
Yeah. It has captured the hearts and imaginations of all the buds out there. Now, what's your favorite, just straight up card you throw into your deck from High Seas?
Favorite card just thrown into the deck. I think the card. I don't know about favorite, but I'll say the card that blew my mind the most was over Nats weekend. I hadn't gotten the chance to play too much Gravy, and I had really only played the version that we had built for the 3 floating video, and it wasn't nearly as good as the real great deck builders were building. And I was sitting with Yuki and Ellie and our friend Nia, and Yuki and Nia were playing the 0 to 80 list that Yuki put out, and they were playing the Mirror. And I watched, and I think it was actually, because then I jumped in and Yuki was kind of coaching me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get so good. And I was doing something, or maybe this was when I was watching her first game, but she like was popping off, just doing a whole bunch of sequencing, and then she tapped her Dead Threads, made a resource, attacked with Saltwater Swell, and pitched the top card of her deck. And I was like, oh, that is so good. Like, the Dead Threads. Just get yourself a blue and 3 damage. And Ellie was sitting there like, it's belittle! Just block me! You don't have to reveal it! She was just losing her mind. And it was like, oh shit, that card is good.
Yeah. That is, I mean, I heard rumblings of people wanting a ban in Gravy Bones, which I don't think it ever needed. But that was a card that I heard people throw around. I'm like, sure, I get it, but I don't know. I think it's totally fine. But that's a great answer. Now, all of these heroes are one class with another class called Pirate. If you were a pirate in Wraith, what would be your additional class?
Oh. If I was a pirate in Wraith, is it so a class that currently exists in Fab, or?
Yeah.
Probably a bard. I'd be a bard. I'd be up there, like, I'd be their little their little musician. I learned to play the lute or something. I
It's
mean, I'd
kinda
like to say
hilarious
that
to think of a bard that could just send a conqueror of the high seas.
Well, because at the end of the day, there's the captain of the ship, but who really controls the hearts and minds of the crew? The one who tells them a good story and sings them a little tune. I mean, who's gonna lead all the shanties?
Amen. I mean, that's so true.
Hey, up she rises. Yeah.
Great answer. Now, what's the GOAT set in your mind by any metric you choose to answer?
Damn. That's an interesting one. I wonder what the GOAT set for me is. I think it's in its early returns. It's going to be hard for me not to see that this is the GOAT set, at least as of right now, in terms of the right amount of impact. It seems where it's some three heroes that are at least definitely playable, and one that's clearly quite good, and two that I think absolutely could be good, but it's not dominating the meta. It has allowed for a more open meta game. People love it. The treasure packs are so unique. The Lost Treasure is so exciting. The gold cards are I love the gold cards. Oh my god, just like Golden Tipple and gold, Murderous Rabble and gold. I'm like, yeah, this is so sick, and I feel like my deck is full of treasure. It is hard for me not to think that this won't end up, at least in the of Flesh and Blood's early 6-year run. This one might be there, and just in terms of the excitement, the amount of people that were buying in, the amount of people that were coming back because of this. Pirates are not everybody's cup of tea, but a lot of people can get down with some pirate gaming. It's just fun. So.
Yeah. Funny enough,
it might be this one, dude.
My cousin, who I've tried to get him in. I gave him a KO deck. He has a KO deck. Like he played Magic with me back in the day. I'm like, dude, you're gonna love this game. You're gonna love this game. And he's like, oh yeah, maybe. And then he got like really into One Piece trading card game.
Yeah, classic.
Which whatever. It's not my cup of tea, but it was his. And then this pirate set comes out, which everybody knows One Piece is about pirates. He's like, I think I might be getting into Flesh and Blood. I'm like, all right. The pirates did
Told
it.
you. Yeah.
So, I'm happy to see people loving it. So, the real question is, Sam, are people going to love the next set? Which we already just saw what it is. Super Slam, bam, bam. We're back at the Deathmatch Arena. KO's back, which is wild. And, we have... I guess I should see. Is it a talent? You should know. Is Revered and Reviled a talent? Yes? Maybe?
Yes. No, they are. They are.
Okay.
They're talents. Because talents are regional in Fab. Yeah. Talents are tied to regions. That's why the pirate is a class, is because they're all over.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So they're not... It's not like the region of the water. But I would say 95% sure that these are talents.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. But we have two new maybe talents. We're assuming talents. Revered and Reviled.
Yeah, they're talents. No, they're talents. They're talents.
Right. Well, I think they're pretty cool. I would say we have.
Yeah.
It's not good versus evil. It's just liked versus not liked, which is kind of
totally
fun. So the set is clearly wrestling inspired, which we all know the folks at LSS love. So, it was only a matter of time before we got something very, very wrestling themed. Although they're not wrestling, they are fighting to the death in an arena. But, it's got the flair of wrestling, which is cool. Yeah. So I want to ask you, what opportunities with coverage do you potentially see here? Right? This is like a very bigger than life kind of.
Oh yeah,
set.
Big time. I don't want to make promises and then have people be like, "Dude, you said on Fresh and Buds that we were gonna all get free French fries." But some slam dunk things. You got to imagine that when these heroes get booed and cheered, you'll hear some boos and some cheers. That's pretty easy. I think I have to imagine that one of the things that I've really tried to do this year especially is be really intentional with music and sound and picking new music for the different sets. You know, we had a hunted set of music, and now we have a high C set of music, and I'll have a new set of music for high Cs that I take a good amount of time to really try to curate, and then I'll like take a song, I'll put it into Logic, I'll find a loopable part, I'll loop it for 5 minutes, and that will be what we use on the intro to the game, and then we'll have a different, more epic thing for the outro of the. You know, that's how my brain works. I'm a musician. I love how much music impacts storytelling, and so. I imagine, you know, other than the new music, we'll probably also add some just general crowd sounds for the intros and the outros. You know, I think you could do some fun stuff like in for high C's, we had the presence of mind to get the voice actor who's someone that Aiden and his dad have worked with a bunch, legendary voice actor Adam Harrington. We had him do a bunch of lines in preparation for the world premiere so that when Puffin won, it was, you know, bloody sky pirates and like, which I thought was super fun. And, you know, the world premieres should be fun because, you know, it's a limited weekend, all limited, and that's not everyone's cup of tea. So if you're going to watch, you know, I want to have some more fun bells and whistles. So, you know, we could do fun stuff with the heroes' names and I don't know, there's some stuff, but I got to keep some surprises.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you to tell me anything special. Listen, at this point, I know to expect some fun stuff, especially around world premiere, right? You know, High Seas world premiere, all of a sudden, what? There's another hero that you can play in limited, Scurv?
That was so sick, dude. That was so sick. Oh, that was so sick.
That was such a good reveal. And like, cause I just remember people being like, just like Discord, like blowing up. Cause like I was like working or something like that. And I'm like, what is going on? And there's another hero. I'm like, what? They finally did that. We had talked about that for years and years and years. And then they snuck it in there. So I don't know if, you know, we'll be getting something like that with this, but it would be kind of cool to see what they have up their sleeves. I'm sure they have it, but the Revered versus Reviled thing, I think is a really cool twist here because it feels so thematic. I think I don't think this is everybody's complaints, but I've heard people talk about like heavy hitters, which I loved heavy hitters, but like could feel lacking in the story at the time. But to see our return to Deathmatch Arena, I think Revered versus Reviled gives it just that much, like a little bit more life to the Deathmatch Arena, life to where you die in hand-to-hand combat. But I think it's going to be cool, and it's going to be fun to see where people align with these heroes, because we have, you're going to have to correct me on this. I haven't even tried to say this out loud yet, but we have the revered heroes, Tough Nut and Pleiades. Okay.
Yeah.
Pleiades. Okay. Tough Nut and Pleiades. I should probably get that one down, huh? And the Reviled, Liath, or is that pronounced right? Liath?
Yeah, Liath. Yeah, Liath.
And KO, who we're all familiar with KO. And I mean, I don't know if it's confirmed, but Liath is related to Victor.
Their last name is Goldbane.
Yeah. You know, I know people like to say the horse was Victor, but we don't really know.
I can't confirm it. I won't confirm anything about Victor's true nature, but I do believe Liath is a Goldmane, is part of the Goldmane family. So either man or beast, but Liath is related to the one known as Victor.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe the middle child based on his demeanor in this set. So, you know, do you think people are going to align more with the like revered heroes? Are they going to be revered, or people, you know, people love a heel, right? So
totally.
They might just gravitate towards Liath and KO, because we're coming out of a set that has a clear favorite hero with Gravy Bones. If you don't count Scurv, but
I think here's what I think. I think it's multifaceted. I think the hero, and you know, I might have been wrong about this, but I did think that people would have a pretty strong association positively with Tough Nut. I did. I was just like, look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's so sweet and cute and dumb. And I do think that, you know, as more cards come out and people like see more, I just think that there's a chance I thought there was a chance people could really, really vibe with that element. But I think I think there's a revered hero and a reviled hero that will probably stand above the rest. I think Pleiades, I think the suspense mechanic is so interesting and so fun. And as the auras of suspense, as we see more of that, people will be like, oh, damn, this hero is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, just the cool, badass, like, axe, that she has, but it's, a weapon as well, hopefully. There's no weapons in this set, but hopefully, I actually don't know. I hope we get to see it as a weapon someday because it would be cool.
Yeah.
But then when you look at Lyeth, dude, like 5 intellect is just hard. I just know the brewers out there, the gamers out there are gonna want to try that out, and it's something that like I actually find myself, I think, a lot like wanting to play the reviled heroes just because the idea of like, you do the thing, the crowd boos you, but you love it because that's your role. You're like, yeah, come on,
Yeah.
I'm louder, and I like that's just fun. That's my experience with the set is when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not a wrestling fan, like cool, like people will like it, but as I see it and as I've gotten to like think about it, I can really imagine doing this, getting booed, getting my token, and just being like, yeah, hell yeah, booed. Like, I just think that actually sounds quite fun.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I mean, I would have thought the same as you. Tough Nut to me is just like cute in a way, right? Like this is going to be not our first 3 intellect hero. Our second 3 intellect hero. This one seems maybe better than Data Doll, although Data Doll has had some moments in her lifespan. But I think that you're probably right with Lyeth. 5 cards with the downside of Lyeth's ability, where for those who don't know, it is. Let me actually bring it up real quick. Lyeth says the base attack and defensive cards you control are halved, rounded up. So like 5 becomes 3, 3 becomes 2. Basically, this really kind of like original KO like thing going on for Lyeth. But 5 cards, you're just gonna make something work, right? And that is like really exciting. So I'm interested about KO returning, because the downside here is still the 1 weapon zone, but now you don't have the buff to all of your attacks. But you can buff any attack to 6, I guess. Yeah, target attack action card. So it doesn't even have to be, it can be while it's being discarded, I'm guessing.
Target attack action card. I don't know
I'm not
if
really
you can
sure.
target it because you'd have to target it in your hand. You can't target it like as it's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
As it's falling towards the discard, I'll throw it up before it hits the discard. I KO. I target it. It's like
we're gonna have to ask Josh about that one. If I do it slowly, is there a priority window? Gonna be really neat. I'm excited. We'll be talking more about it as it gets closer. But I wanted to play a little game with you, Sam, because we are seeing revered and reviled heroes. But the question is the existing heroes out there. Let's say all of a sudden LSS was like, we're assigning the revered or reviled talent to every hero that's legal in CC.
Great.
Just so they can play the cards. I don't know. But
love it.
We got to figure out who is revered and reviled based on what we know about these heroes. And I'm going to go to the CC list right now of legal heroes. Sorry, Dash, you're out of here. Valda.
Oh my goodness. She's a beast, right? She's Cranial Crush, and she's just like you don't F with Valda, but I think she's probably a force for good. I think she's revered, So yeah, I'll say revered.
Yeah, I think she's probably like a good time. People want to keep her around. They're not like, think. Puffin.
Puffin's for sure revered. She's a pirate, but is she really? She just looks so happy. She's got a bird on her shoulder. Like, what's she really stealing? She's just out here having a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I think Puffin is too innocent to not be revered at this point. But what about Marlin?
Marlin, she's a treasure hunter. She's off to get her big score. I don't know, dude. I mean, I think she could go either way. I think to the people whose treasure she's taken, she's probably rather reviled, but to most people, they probably don't even know she exists. So, she's out there like on the high seas doing her own thing.
Yeah, but like, there's definitely stories coming into the shore towns.
Yeah.
They're hearing about
What
this.
What do you think? What do you think of Marlin? I don't know.
I think Marlin's probably reviled, not in like a bad way, and I don't think any of the reviled's like a bad thing. Like it could be, it could just be kind of like an anti-hero, and I think Marlin just really just seems to
gives that energy.
At whatever cost. I think, and she's like, whatever, hate me, love me. Betsy.
Oh, so revered. Couldn't be more revered. Are you kidding me? Drink them under the table. I don't know if anyone is more revered than Betsy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a true legend with a giant log as a weapon.
Yeah. The log, cool. You guys. I want to use Betsy's log. Come on.
Is the log? Maybe this.
Come on, LSS. Make the log.
Olympia, I think this is the easiest revered of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically his whole thing is being revered.
Yep.
Arachne comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. But
yeah. I mean, they're all probably reviled.
Yeah, unless you're Brian Gottlieb, then
unless you're Brian Gottlieb. They're probably all reviled. I mean, scary assassin,
Teklo?
It depends on when you meet old Julius. Is that his name? Julius Teklo Vossen? Because he ends up like the woad. He ends up so terrible, Shadow, Mecropotent, so terrible. So probably reviled, dude. I think he's reviled.
I think so. Acilio.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is his, not his specialization, but his card is Comet Storm. It's literally him like laying waste to a city.
Yeah.
Buildings are being lost to his might and his terror. So I don't know. I don't think he's reviled, but if he's blowing up cities, he's gonna be soon.
Yeah. He's gonna get a name for himself, definitely. Ira.
We are the Crimson Haze, and we remember. I feel like I don't know Ira's lore very well, but I feel like maybe she's like, to many she's considered reviled. Like they don't know her true story, so they think she's terrible, but she's, like the public might perceive her as reviled because they've been fed a lie. But once she cleanses the land, then she'll be revered. But I'm just really talking out of my ass. I don't know her lore.
Yeah. She's coin flip, I think, probably. She would have a flip card, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of each side.
That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty neat. Gravy Bones.
I mean, what do you think?
I mean, he's got to be reviled. I mean, like,
yeah, reviled. He's an undead warlord. I mean, come on now.
Yeah. Max the Hype Nitro.
Oh my God! I mean, here's the thing: if you're some stuffy Metrixian elite holed up in your penthouse, he's as reviled as they come. But to the common man and to the laboring working class that are sick of toiling away just so that they can line the pockets of those who are more wealthy than they, he is the true champion and ye revered. So I think he's also both. It depends on who you ask. But he's revered to me. That's my boy.
We're gonna go with the most, the popular vote, right? Because there's more common people out there that are gonna love Max. Yeah. Revered for sure. Fang.
I think Fang is reviled. I think Syndra's revered. I feel like Fang is just like ruthless and just like You see his art, he's like, oh, Getchy's like looking crazy on that art.
Yeah.
So, and I think Syndra's too gorgeous to be reviled.
Yeah. I mean, Fang has the thing where once those weapons are turned on, it feels like honestly just like no prisoners, right? Just like I'm taking you to business. Riptide.
I think probably reviled. I think people are very afraid of Riptide.
Yeah. They definitely.
He blew up the bridge.
He blew up the bridge.
He blew up the bridge.
It was cool, but I get it. And he probably just like, unfortunately, no offense to Riptide, I love you. You probably don't smell good. Probably.
I don't think it's a probably. That dude smells horrible.
Yeah.
I don't think he could smell worse.
Jarl.
Oh, so reviled? He's like the worst of them all.
Yeah.
But Jarl betrayed thee. Like that, in the trailer, like she's like, yo, he really sucks.
Yeah. Good old Jarl. Not quite Oldham, of course. Vincent.
I mean, gotta be reviled. Look at her. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Shadow kind of is like an automatic revile.
Yeah, I think so.
Same with Leviah coming after that. Verdant.
Yeah, definitely. Revered.
Sweet, sweet lady.
Yeah.
Dash. IO. Well, I guess Dash in general.
I mean, dude, I think she's got to decide. Does she want to work for Teklovasen and work for, the corporate elites? Or does she want to work and help Metrix be ruled by more, more equitable society? I think she could be on either side. I think Dash herself is a revered hero, but Dash IO, like when she's plugged into Datadol and become, her new plugged-in self, she has to make a choice.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you there. Reinar.
Reviled.
Yeah.
These, I read the lore story in the classic battles. He just lays waste to Dorinthia's crew, like,
He's a brutal guy.
Brutal guy.
Bolton's an easy one, I would say. Revered.
Oh yeah, come on now.
By all, and same with Kasai.
United.
Yeah.
We stand.
Oh man,
That's the first one. That Aiden and me and his dad. It's really Aiden and his dad, but I get to be involved a little bit. It's the first trailer we worked on,
which was such a fun one.
Oh, dude, it was so sick.
Kasai definitely revered.
Probably.
I think so. Azuri's the easiest reviled maybe ever.
Oh yeah, 100%.
A mob boss. Victor Goldman.
Yep. Reviled, the worst.
Yeah.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the smarmiest, the worst.
Dorinthia, revered.
Easy.
Prism, to me, reviled, but probably to most revered.
I was gonna say the illusionist class. I think in the world of Wraith is revered, but in the world of Flesh and Blood, there's probably reviled. Let's be clear.
Yeah. Katsu.
Revered
easily. Florian.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one because the way I understood the lore, he's reviled by the people of Candlehold, but he's doing what the queen gave him the charge. Like you must break the cycle. You must bring basically the cycles back to Candlehold. So he's just trying to do what his queen told him.
Yeah, I think history will shine brightly on Florian and his story.
Yeah,
definitely.
I have a soft spot for him.
KO, Armed and Dangerous, we already know. Reviled.
Mm-hmm.
Bravo, Showstopper.
Gotta be revered. Everybody loves him.
Phi, Rising Rebellion.
Gotta be revered.
Yeah, much like Max. Basically, Draconic Max at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Kano.
Yep. Gotta be reviled.
Yeah.
Look at that stupid son of a... Look at his smarmy ass grin. Are you kidding me?
Smirk it haunts me.
Yeah.
And finally, Azalea, ace in the hole.
Probably Reviled. Remorseless is such a crazy card.
Yeah.
Art, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, she's sick, but, like, she's scary, dog.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what was it? Judge, jury, executioner?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal, but I would say Wraith has a nice split, though, based on all that. I would say that if it were to happen, we'd have a nice even split after that.
I'd agree.
But you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for some listener questions. These
oh my
come
gosh.
from the Buds Discord, free for anybody to join. It is in the show notes below. First, Capolo asks,
No, it's up, Capolo.
with your new gig at LSS, will you still be able to follow your acting and music career?
Yeah, big time. They made it very clear that they know that that's a part of my life and they want me to continue to do that. I've worked on, I've worked this year already. I might do a little more in a little bit. This year, I definitely was focusing on the LSS side of things, and there were a couple opportunities that I turned down because they weren't as impactful for me in that end, and I wanted to just really get this down and learn what I'm doing so that if I am on set or if I am in a show, I can make sure I know how to do the work asynchronously. But I had an episode of Criminal Minds come out this year. I was a serial killer in Criminal Minds that came out in May.
Very nice.
So that was fun to watch. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. What episode? Do you remember?
The first episode of the newest season.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Check that out. Next question. Well, Sigma has two questions.
Okay.
First one being responsible persons for productions. Did you have a say in bringing in Savage Feats?
No. I mean, I made it very clear that I wanted to and that I thought it'd be very good, just in like general sense. And one of the first things I did in January was lock up Ethan for as many events as I could and make him, know what he was working on and work on a bunch. But no, that was well above my decision-making ability, and I was basically had no idea until right before it happened, and then was like, "What? Let's go!"
I mean, it was a good thing all around, no matter who made the decision.
Yep.
Sigma also asked, what are your thoughts on LSS not allowing non-dev employees playing big events when all the cards of a set are known, or at least a few weeks after?
That's an interesting question. I understand the policy. I know for a fact that I am not a good enough player that, like if I was to go play a calling, I'd win some games. I don't think I'm top 80 in that calling unless I just go on the run of a lifetime. And I also know that there's nothing about anything I know that would impact how I play that calling at all. So I don't think it would be I don't think it's really about a tournament integrity thing, because I think it'd be pretty tough to utilize any forward information to gain any advantage. I would understand not wanting to play, like, I definitely wouldn't be right for me to go play some limited calling, that for sure. But constructed, I don't think it's as much about tournament integrity as it is about just like perception and wanting to make sure that it doesn't look weird. Let's say I do go on the run of a lifetime. People are like, there's no way Sam could be that good. What did he know? So I do understand it, just as from a let's make it just kind of safe all around. It's a bummer. I wish I could play in more things, but I also pretty much don't have time. So it's not like I've, been able to go anywhere. I've been doing a lot of traveling otherwise. So, but yeah, I understand it. Even if I wish I could game a little more. Yeah,
I totally get it for sure. Next question comes from Darth Prentice, aka Greg, who asks, any tips / advice for people looking to produce fab gameplay content? And also a bonus question, favorite book you've read this past year?
Oh. Yes. I mean, I think if you are going to record Fab gameplay, which I hope you do, anybody out there, because more gameplay is just good for the game. I think two things are important. I think if you're going to do it in person, which I think is differently effective than Talishar, but I do think it has a wider potential viewer base. I think I would, if you're going to do it in person, I would recommend trying to have, I think it's good to just start and then upgrade. You don't have to worry about, like, I have to do it perfectly. Like, just start and figure out what you want to do from there. If you're doing it in person, I would say try to go the extra mile to have the cards pop up on screen in some way. That goes a long way for viewability. Try to make sure the table doesn't shake, and try to just take a little bit of time to think about how it's going to look. And if you can build an overlay, just something just to block out, the rest of the table. Just try to take a little time to think about, like, how does this look? Can I make sure that the table doesn't shake if possible? Can I mount the camera in such a way that it doesn't shake? Can my audio be better? Maybe I use two phones as like, voice memo. Even that audio would be better than probably just like the audio from an iPhone or something, just wide. And yeah, I think, and then try to make sure that the cards pop up in some way. I think that just goes a long way for new players and just for players watching if you're going to do it in person. Talishar is its own thing, but I don't think Talishar is a great viewing tool. I'm really glad it exists for players. But yeah, it's in terms of favorite book I read this year, I do have a favorite book I read this year. It took me a long time because I was busy and I just didn't want it to end. But book 5 of a series called The Stormlight Archive came out last year, and I finished it this year. And The Stormlight Archive is my favorite work of fiction of all time, regardless of medium. It is just better than anything in film, television. It's just my favorite story. And the 5th book was unbelievable. It's actually there's 2 5-book arcs that it's going to be. And so this is the end. The first arc, and it is just so good.
Yeah, you have plenty to look forward to then. A whole nother 5-book arc. That's awesome and great tips. William from the Table Pit, speaking of somebody who does gameplay, if someone plays new KO or Goldman, can I boo them? And is it wrong for me to love a heel?
I think in all things, consent is king. And you might just ask for the game, just let you know I'm going to boo every time you get booed. Make sure that they're not going to be annoyed. But I love it. If you boo me every time, I would love that. I think that's super fun. And a little bit, if you're playing those heroes, you kind of know what you signed up for. And I don't think it's wrong to love a heel at all. I think that's part of the fun, and that's why they're in the set, is because people love the heels.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for answering them, Sam. That's pretty cool. Yeah. This has been a great time. Always love chatting with you, buddy. Can you please plug anything you'd like to plug? And yeah, thank you.
Oh, dude, we've got Pro Tour Singapore on the horizon. I hope you'll tune in for the stream. It's going to be a banger. We've got Uber coming back. We've got the Pro Tour Los Angeles team returning for Singapore. So that will be very exciting. That should, I'm sure that'll come out in the next week or so. So I'm very much looking forward to that stream. Should be an awesome weekend of Flesh and Blood. And then, personally, 3 Floating's got a gameplay video coming out probably in the next couple days. Check out Ira. If you want to watch more gameplay, you can check us out at 3 Floating on YouTube.
Awesome. Everybody, please check out all of that. Pro Tour Singapore sounds like a blast. You can all continue to find me on YouTube at Fresh and Buds. Give us the old like, comment, and subscribe. Discord in the show notes, mostly on Blue Sky these days at freshbudspod. And I have another podcast called Fresh Juice I do with my cousin, talk about indie video games. That's also weekly. Although he's having a baby soon. So, his wife's having a baby soon. So maybe, I don't know what we're going to do. We should probably figure that out. Anyway, that's not my problem. Well, I guess it will be. But please check out all the things. finally, Sam, always like to talk about food at the end of every show. You've been traveling a lot. There's got to be something that you're like, wow, that was delicious.
The thing that comes to mind in this is the end of last year, but when we were in Japan for Worlds in Osaka, my first night we were in Kyoto, and my friend Jacob, took me and Aiden to this place in Kyoto, a Wagyu beef spot, and it is still like it's just maybe one of the best things I've ever eaten. It was just ridiculously good. So that thing was that like box, but the beef especially was just like Jesus Christ.
Oh man, I mean, Osaka gave my guest food stories for probably another year of podcasts. It's pretty incredible, but it did not give me enough time to have Charmer on the show. But I'm sure we'll get to him eventually. Thank you definitely. All, Sam. You're the best. Safe travels, everybody.